Death Star Blueprints, An Engineer's Tale. Chapter 1. The Prodigy's Ascent. The gleaming halls of the Imperial Academy on Coruscant bustled with activity, a sea of crisp uniforms and polished boots. Amidst the throng, a young man with tousled dark hair and intense eyes stood out, his mind clearly elsewhere as he navigated the corridors.
Excuse me, pardon me.
Galen Erso muttered as he weaved through the crowd, his arms laden with data pads and holographic projectors. He barely noticed the curious glances thrown his way, his thoughts consumed by complex equations and theoretical models of kyber crystal energy conversion.
Watch where you're going, cadet.
A stern voice cut through Galen's reverie as he nearly collided with an officer. Galen's eyes widened in recognition as he realized he stood face to face with Director Orson Krennic, the man's white cape, a stark contrast to the sea of gray and black uniforms.
My sincerest apologies, Director. I was preoccupied.
Krennic's stern expression softened, replaced by a look of intrigue as he took in the various scientific instruments Galen carried.
No harm done, Cadet. Tell me, what has you so engrossed that you'd risk barreling into a superior officer?
Galen hesitated for a moment, his natural caution warring with his enthusiasm for his work. The latter won out.
I've been working on a new theory for harnessing the energy output of kyber crystals, sir. If my calculations are correct, we could potentially increase their efficiency by an order of magnitude.
Krennic's eyebrows rose, a spark of interest igniting in his eyes.
Is that so? And what practical applications do you envision for such an advancement?
The possibilities are nearly limitless, sir. From powering entire cities to revolutionizing space travel. With enough kyber crystals and the right focusing array, one could theoretically generate enough energy to move planets.
Krennic's lips curled into a smile, though there was a calculating edge to it that Galen missed in his excitement.
Fascinating. I believe we should continue this discussion in private, Cadet.
Erso, sir. Galen Erso.
Well, Cadet Erso, how would you like to put your theories to the test? I have a project that could benefit greatly from your expertise.
Galen's eyes lit up, his mind already racing with the possibilities.
I'd be honored, Director. What sort of project did you have in mind?
Something that will change the face of the galaxy, Erso. Something celestial in nature.
Krennic gestured for Galen to follow him, leading the young engineer away from the bustling hallway and towards a more secluded area of the academy. As they walked, Krennic began to outline the broad strokes of the project, careful to omit certain crucial details.
We're calling it Celestial Power for now. It's a research initiative aimed at harnessing unprecedented levels of energy for the good of the Empire. With your expertise in kyber crystal technology, you could be instrumental in making this vision a reality.
Galen listened intently, his mind already buzzing with ideas and potential solutions to problems Krennic hadn't even mentioned yet.
The scale you're describing, it's beyond anything I've ever encountered. The energy requirements alone would be staggering.
Which is precisely why we need brilliant minds like yours, Erso. The Empire is prepared to provide you with unlimited resources to see this project through. Whatever you need, personnel, equipment, rare materials, it's yours. It's yours.
Galen's eyes widened at the prospect. The chance to work on a project of this magnitude, with no limitations on resources, was a scientist's dream come true.
Director, I don't know what to say. This opportunity is beyond anything I could have imagined.
Say yes, Erso. Join us in shaping the future of the galaxy.
For a brief moment, a flicker of doubt crossed Galen's face. The scale of the project, the secrecy surrounding it, something didn't quite add up. But the allure of scientific discovery, the chance to push the boundaries of what was possible, overwhelmed his misgivings.
Yes, Director Krennic, I accept.
Krennic's smile widened, a predatory gleam in his eyes that Galen, in his excitement, failed to notice.
Excellent. Welcome to Project Celestial Power, Galen. I have a feeling you're going to do great things for the Empire.
As Krennic led Galen deeper into the restricted areas of the Academy, the young engineer's mind raced with possibilities. The pristine corridors gave way to a high-security laboratory, its gleaming surfaces a stark contrast to the bustling halls they had left behind.
Welcome to your new playground, Erso. Every resource at your disposal, every breakthrough at your fingertips.
Galen's eyes widened as he took in the array of advanced equipment, his fingers itching to explore the possibilities they presented.
This is extraordinary. I've never seen such a comprehensive setup.
Krennic's lips curled into a satisfied smile, pleased struck by Galen's evident awe.
The Empire spares no expense for its most valuable assets, and you, my friend, are about to become invaluable.
As Galen moved from station to station, his excitement growing with each discovery, Krennic watched with calculating eyes. He knew he had found the key to unlocking the full potential of Project Celestial Power.
Director, these energy readings, they're off the charts. What exactly are we working with here?
Krennic paused, weighing his words carefully. He needed Galen's brilliance, but he couldn't risk revealing too much too soon.
Let's just say we're harnessing the power of the stars themselves, Erso. Your work with kyber crystals is about to revolutionize energy production on a galactic scale.
Galen's brow furrowed, his scientific mind already grappling with the implications.
But the energy output required for such a feat, it's unprecedented. The applications could be...
Limitless. Precisely why we need you, Galen. Your vision, combined with the Empire's resources, will usher in a new era of peace and prosperity.
As Krennic spoke, a shadow seemed to pass over Galen's face. For a brief moment, doubt flickered in his eyes, a premonition of the weight his work would come to bear.
And the ethical implications? The potential for misuse?
Krennic's expression hardened, his voice taking on a steely edge.
The Empire's intentions are pure, Erso. We seek only to maintain order and stability. Your work will save lives, not endanger them.
Galen nodded slowly, pushing his doubts aside. The allure of scientific discovery, the chance to push the boundaries of what was possible, overwhelmed his misgivings.
Then let's begin. Where do you suggest we start?
Krennic's smile returned, triumphant. Chapter 2, The Architect's Dilemma. The cavernous hangar bay of the Death Star construction site teemed with activity. Galen Erso stood on a raised platform, his eyes scanning the bustling scene below. Wookiee slaves, their fur matted and eyes hollow, hauled massive durasteel beams under the watchful gaze of Imperial overseers. The air crackled with the sound of welding torches and the clanging of metal on metal.
This isn't what I signed up for.
His whispered words were lost in the din. A nearby Imperial officer, Lieutenant Cassius Dre, approached with a datapad in hand.
Dr. Erso, the latest shipment of kyber crystals has arrived. We're ready to begin the next phase of testing.
Galen's fingers tightened imperceptibly on the railing.
Very good, Lieutenant. And what of the resource acquisition?
Dre's face remained impassive, but a flicker of unease passed through his eyes.
Extraction continues as planned. 3 more systems have been harvested from materials.
The word harvested hung in the air between them, heavy with unspoken implications. Galen nodded curtly and dismissed the officer. As Dre retreated, Galen's gaze fell upon a group of Wookiees struggling under the weight of a massive power coupling. One of them stumbled, its knees buckling. Before Galen could react, a stormtrooper's electro-staff crackled to life, striking the fallen Wookiee with brutal efficiency. Galen's stomach churned. He turned away, unable to watch further. His steps echoed as he strode purposefully towards his private laboratory, the only place where he felt he could breathe freely. The door hissed shut behind him, sealing out the sounds of construction and suffering.
What have I done?
His voice cracked as he slumped into his chair. The holographic display before him flickered to life, revealing the intricate schematics of the Death Star's superlaser. Galen's fingers danced across the controls, zooming in on the reactor core. His mind raced, calculations and possibilities swirling through his thoughts. A soft chime interrupted his concentration. The door slid open, revealing Director Krennic, his white cape billowing behind him.
Ah, Galen. Hard at work, I see. I have excellent news.
Oh, what news, Director?
The Emperor has approved our proposal for a full-scale test. We've identified a suitable target, a populated world in the Outer Rim. Alderaan, I believe.
Galen's blood ran cold. His fingers, hidden beneath the console, trembled.
A populated world? Surely a demonstration on an uninhabited planet would suffice.
Krennic's eyes narrowed, a predatory smile playing at the corners of his mouth.
Come now, Galen. We must show the galaxy the full might of this battle station. Fear will keep the local systems in line.
As Krennic continued to expound on the strategic importance of their work, Galen's mind raced. He knew he had to act, and act quickly. His eyes darted to the schematics still displayed on the screen, an idea forming.
You're right, of course, Director. In fact, I just had a breakthrough that might interest you. A way to increase the efficiency of the reactor core.
Oh, do tell.
Galen turned to the display, his fingers flying over the controls. As he spoke, he began to subtly alter the blueprints, introducing a fatal flaw so cunningly disguised that only he would recognize its true purpose.
You see, by reconfiguring the exhaust system, we can increase power output by nearly 15%. It will require some additional venting ports, but the trade-off in performance is well worth it.
Krennic leaned in, his eyes gleaming with the promise of even greater destructive potential. As Galen continued his explanation, he carefully embedded the seeds of the Death Star's destruction into its very design, an exhaust port, seemingly innocuous, that would lead directly to the reactor core. A single, precise shot would be all it would take to ignite a chain reaction that would tear the station apart from within. As Krennic nodded approvingly, Galen felt a glimmer of hope. He had taken the first step towards redemption, towards righting the terrible wrong he had helped create, but he knew this was only the beginning. He would need allies, co-conspirators willing to risk everything to get these plans into the hands of the rebellion. Later that evening, as the construction site's activity wound down for the night cycle, Galen made his way to a secluded maintenance corridor. Lieutenant Dre was waiting for him, along with 2 other officers Galen recognized, but had never spoken to directly.
Dr. Erso, I'm glad you came.
Galen nodded, his eyes darting between the assembled group.
I assume we're all here for the same reason.
A tense silence fell over the group.
We can't stand by and let this happen. The Empire's gone too far.
Galen took a deep breath, steeling himself for what he was about to say.
I've done something that can change everything, but I need your help to see it through.
As Galen began to explain his plan, the small group of conspirators leaned in, their faces a mix of hope and fear. They knew the risks were enormous, but the stakes were even higher. Together, they began to plot how they would smuggle the compromised blueprints out of the heavily guarded facility and into the hands of the Rebel Alliance. I'll rewrite the entire chapter, slowing down the pace and adding more detail to make it more realistic and engaging. Chapter 3, The Engineer's Redemption. The vast construction site of the Death Star hummed with activity. Galen Erso stood at his workstation, his face a mask of concentration as he reviewed the latest reactor core diagnostics. Nearby, Imperial officers and technicians bustled about, oblivious to the weight of secrets Galen carried.
These power fluctuations, they're within acceptable parameters, but only just.
A young cargo pilot, Bodhi Rook, approached Galen's station, datapad in hand. Me one knob. Tile, Tipstall, Y, Unbees, B. It should.
Dr. Erso, I have the supply manifest you requested.
Galen's eyes darted around the room before he responded in a low voice.
Thank you, Bodhi. Meet me in Maintenance Shaft 5C in 1 hour. There's something important we need to discuss.
Bodhi nodded almost imperceptibly, his expression neutral as he walked away. Galen returned to his work, his mind racing with the enormity of what he was about to do. An hour later, in the dimly lit confines of Maintenance Shaft 5C, Galen handed Bodhi a small, nondescript data chip.
This contains the complete technical readouts of the Death Star, including a fatal flaw I've engineered into its design. You must get this to Saw Gerrera on Jedha.
Saw Gerrera, but he's a terrorist, isn't he?
He's a freedom fighter, and our best hope of getting this information to the rebellion. Bodhi, I know I'm asking a lot, but millions of lives depend on this.
Bodhi's hand trembled as he took the chip, his eyes wide with fear and determination.
I'll do it. But what about you, Dr. Erso?
I have to stay. If I disappear, they'll know something's wrong. I'll do what I can to buy you time.
Over the next few days, Galen worked tirelessly, maintaining his usual routines while subtly introducing minor malfunctions into various systems. Each problem required time and resources to fix, distracting attention from Bodhi's absence. Meanwhile, in his office aboard the Death Star, Director Orson Krennic reviewed the latest progress reports, his brow furrowed in frustration.
These delays are unacceptable. Lieutenant Mitaka, what's causing these setbacks?
Sir, we've been experiencing a series of minor malfunctions. Dr. Erso assures us they're merely growing pains as we bring systems online.
Erso, he's been too quiet lately, too compliant. Initiate a discreet investigation into his recent activities and find out where that cargo pilot Rook has disappeared to.
As days turned to weeks, tension aboard the Death Star grew. Galen felt the noose tightening as he noticed increased security and furtive glances from his colleagues. He knew his time was running out, One morning, as Galen entered his lab, he found Director Krennic waiting for him, flanked by Death Troopers.
Ah, Galen, so good of you to join us. We have much to discuss about your recent...
Extracurricular activities. Ease.
Orson, I don't understand. What's this about? What's this about?
Don't play coy, old friend. We know about the data breach, about your little chat with the cargo pilot Rook. Did you really think you could betray the Empire without consequences?
Galen's mind raced, but his face remained a mask of confused innocence. He knew he had only one chance to escape.
Orson, please. There's been a misunderstanding. Let me explain. Let me explain.
In a swift motion, Galen activated the emergency containment protocols he had secretly modified. Blast doors slammed shut, separating him from Krennic and the Death Troopers. Alarms blared throughout the station.
Stop him. Lock down the entire level.
Galen sprinted through the corridors, his intimate knowledge of the station's layout guiding him through maintenance shafts and secret passages. Stormtroopers flooded the halls, but always a step behind. After a harrowing chase, Galen reached a small hangar bay used for short-range shuttles. His hands flew over the controls of a Lambda-class shuttle, overriding security protocols he had discreetly altered months ago. As the shuttle burst from the Death Star's superstructure, turbolaser fire erupted around him. Galen pushed the ship to its limits, plotting a desperate course into hyperspace. For weeks, Galen evaded Imperial patrols, using his knowledge of Imperial protocols and secret hyperspace routes to stay ahead. He hopped from planet to planet, gathering supplies and information, always moving, never resting. Finally, after a perilous journey fraught with near captures and daring escapes, Galen's battered shuttle approached a hidden rebel outpost on Dantua. As he landed, he found himself surrounded by wary rebel soldiers led by General David Straven.
Identify yourself and state your purpose.
I'm Galen Erso, former Imperial scientist. I've come to join the rebellion and help you destroy the Death Star.
Over the next days, Galen was subjected to intense questioning and scrutiny. He revealed everything to the rebel leadership, including Mon Mothma and Senator Bail Organa. He spoke of the Death Star's capabilities, the weakness he had built into it, and the plans he had sent with Bodhi Rock.
If what you're saying is true, Dr. Erso, you may have given us the key to saving the galaxy.
It is true, and I offer my full cooperation to ensure the Death Star's destruction. Every moment we delay puts more worlds at risk.
In the weeks that followed, Galen worked tirelessly with rebel engineers and strategists. His expertise proved invaluable as they analyzed the Death Star plans and prepared for what would be the rebellion's most daring assault. As news arrived of the Death Star's attack on Jeddah City, Galen's resolve hardened. He knew the price of failure was too horrific to contemplate. Finally, the day of reckoning arrived. Galen stood beside Mon Mothma and General Draven in the rebel base on Yavin 4, watching as squadrons of X-Wings and Y-Wings took off, embarking on their desperate mission to destroy the battle station.
May the Force be with them, and may the Empire's reign of terror finally come to an end.
As the last fighter disappeared into the sky, Galen closed his eyes, a turbulent mix of hope, fear, and determination swirling within him. His long journey of redemption had led to this moment. Now, the fate of the galaxy rested in the hands of the rebel pilots, and the fatal flaw he had sacrificed everything to create